Marcus stood at the window of his corner office, watching the city lights flicker to life below. The golden hour cast long shadows across his mahogany desk, where two small photos smiled back at him. His twins, Emma and Sophie, captured in a moment of pure joy at the park last weekend. At 34, Marcus had built an empire. His tech company employed thousands, and his name appeared regularly in business magazines. But success had come with a price. Every woman he met seemed more interested in his bank account than his heart. Every conversation eventually turned to his wealth, his properties, his lifestyle. He was tired of it all. The knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. His assistant, Mrs. Chen, peeked in with her usual gentle smile. "Mr. Thompson, don't forget about tomorrow evening," she said softly. "Your dinner appointment." Marcus sighed. Another blind date, arranged by his well-meaning sister. Sarah had been relentless lately, insisting he needed someone special in his life. Someone who could be a mother figure to Emma and Sophie. "What did you tell her about me?" Marcus asked, already dreading the answer. "Just your first name and that you work in technology, Mrs. Chen replied. "Your sister was very specific about keeping things simple." That evening, Marcus sat in his spacious living room, helping his 6-year-old daughters with their homework. Emma struggled with her math problems while Sophie practiced reading aloud. The house felt too big, too quiet, despite their cheerful chatter. "Daddy, will you ever get married again?" Emma asked suddenly, her pencil hovering over her worksheet. The question caught him off guard. His ex-wife had left when the girls were barely 2, unable to handle the responsibilities of motherhood. Since then, it had been just the 3 of them. "Maybe someday, sweetheart," he said, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Would you like that?" Both girls nodded eagerly. Sophie climbed onto his lap, her small arms wrapping around his neck. "We want a mommy who will read us stories and make pancakes on Sunday," she whispered. Marcus felt his heart tighten. His daughters deserved that kind of love, that kind of warmth. But finding someone genuine seemed impossible in his world. The next morning brought an idea that would change everything. Marcus stared at his reflection in the bathroom mirror, an unusual plan forming in his mind. What if he could meet someone without the weight of his wealth influencing their judgment? What if he could just be ordinary? He called his sister Sarah, who had arranged the blind date. "I need you to do something for me," he said. "Tell her I'm a single father who works basic tech support. Nothing more." Sarah was quiet for a long moment. "Marcus, what are you planning?" "I want to know if someone can care about me and the girls for who we are, not what we have." That afternoon, Marcus transformed himself. Gone was the expensive suit, replaced by simple jeans and a button-down shirt from a regular department store. He borrowed his neighbor's modest sedan, leaving his luxury car in the garage. For the first time in years, he felt nervous about a date. The restaurant Sarah had chosen was perfect for his plan, a cozy family place with warm lighting and reasonable prices. Marcus arrived early, choosing a quiet corner table. His hands were actually trembling as he waited. Then she walked in. Rachel moved through the restaurant with an easy grace, her blonde hair catching the soft light. She wore a simple mint green dress that somehow made her look both elegant and approachable. But it wasn't her beauty that struck him first, it was the way she smiled at the hostess, the genuine warmth in her voice as she asked about the evening specials. When she spotted him and walked over, Marcus felt something shift inside his chest. "You must be Marcus," she said, extending her hand. Her smile was radiant, lighting up her entire face. "That's me," he replied, standing to pull out her chair. "And you're Rachel." As she settled into her seat, Marcus noticed how she looked around the restaurant with appreciation, not judgment. No searching glances for signs of wealth, no calculating looks. Just genuine pleasure at being somewhere nice. "This place has such a lovely atmosphere," she said, studying the menu. "Sarah told me you work in technology." "Tech support, actually," Marcus replied, the life feeling strange on his tongue. "It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills." Rachel nodded thoughtfully. "My sister's in IT. She says it takes a special kind of patience to help people with their computer problems all day." Their conversation flowed naturally. Rachel talked about her work as an elementary school teacher, her eyes lighting up as she described her students. Marcus found himself sharing stories about Emma and Sophie, watching as Rachel's expression grew soft and interested. Tell me about them, she said, leaning forward slightly. Your daughters. Marcus pulled out his phone, showing her recent photos. Rachel studied each picture with genuine attention, asking questions about their personalities, their interests, their dreams. Emma's the serious one, Marcus explained. She loves math puzzles and building things with blocks. Sophie's our little dreamer, always making up stories and wanting to paint pictures. They sound wonderful, Rachel said softly. It must be challenging, raising them alone. There was no pity in her voice, only understanding. Marcus felt something unlock in his chest, a tension he hadn't realized he was carrying. As the evening progressed, Marcus watched Rachel carefully. When the waiter mentioned the daily specials, she chose one of the less expensive options. When Marcus suggested they split dessert to save money, she agreed immediately, even enthusiastically. I love sharing dessert, she said. It always tastes better when you're not eating it alone. But it was what happened next that truly opened Marcus's eyes. A family with 2 young children sat at the table next to them. The little boy, maybe 4 years old, kept dropping his crayons. Each time, Rachel quietly picked them up and handed them back with a gentle smile. When the boy's juice box spilled, she was the first to offer napkins from their table. Sorry about that, the mother said apologetically. Please don't worry, Rachel replied. I'm a teacher, spills are part of life. Marcus watched as she continued to include the children in small ways throughout their meal. A wink when the little girl was being shy, a thumbs up when the boy finished his vegetables. She never made a show of it, never drew attention to herself. It was simply who she was. When their dessert arrived, a slice of warm apple pie with vanilla ice cream, Rachel insisted Marcus take the first bite. Go ahead, she said, her eyes twinkling. But save room for the ice cream. It's the best part. As they shared the dessert, their conversation turned more personal. Rachel talked about her dreams of having a family someday, about wanting to make a difference in children's lives both in and out of the classroom. I've always believed that love multiplies when you share it, she said simply. Whether it's with students, or friends, or, she paused, blushing slightly, or someone special. Marcus felt his heart racing. This woman, this beautiful, genuine woman, was everything he had hoped to find. But the weight of his deception pressed down on him. When the check arrived, Marcus reached for it, but Rachel gently placed her hand over his. Let's split it, she said. I believe in equality, especially on first dates. Marcus wanted to protest, wanted to pay for everything, but he recognized the importance of this moment to her. They divided the modest bill equally, and Rachel counted out her share carefully from a small wallet. As they walked to the parking lot, Rachel turned to him with a soft smile. I had a wonderful time tonight, Marcus. Would you like to do this again sometime? Maybe something family-friendly. I'd love to meet Emma and Sophie, if you think they'd be okay with that. Marcus felt his throat tighten with emotion. Here was this incredible woman, willing to embrace not just him but his children, believing he was a man of modest means who could offer her nothing but love and companionship. I'd like that very much, he managed to say. They made plans for the following weekend, a picnic in the park with the girls. As Rachel drove away in her practical Honda, Marcus stood in the parking lot for a long time, wrestling with his conscience. He had found what he was looking for, but now he faced an impossible choice. How could he tell her the truth without risking everything they had started to build? The following Saturday, Marcus dressed carefully in his borrowed simplicity. He picked up Emma and Sophie, both excited about meeting his new friend. Is she pretty, Daddy? Sophie asked from her car seat. She's beautiful, Marcus replied. But more importantly, she's kind. They met Rachel at Riverside Park, and Marcus watched in wonder as she immediately knelt down to the girl's level, introducing herself with genuine warmth. You must be Emma and Sophie, she said. Your daddy has told me so many wonderful things about you. The girls, usually shy with strangers, were immediately drawn to her. Rachel had brought a small bag of art supplies, and soon all three were sitting on the picnic blanket, creating masterpieces with crayons and paper. Marcus found himself relaxing as he watched them together. Rachel praised Emma's careful attention to detail and encouraged Sophie's wild creativity. She listened to their stories, laughed at their jokes, and treated them with the respect and affection they deserved. When Emma scraped her knee on the playground equipment, Rachel was there instantly with a band-aid and a gentle hug. When Sophie got tired, Rachel offered to carry her piggyback style, earning delighted giggles. As the afternoon wore on, Marcus realized he was witnessing something magical. His daughters were blossoming under Rachel's attention, and she was clearly falling in love with them as much as they were with her. But the weight of his deception grew heavier with each passing hour. That evening, after he had taken the girls home and tucked them into bed, Marcus sat in his study, staring at his phone. Rachel had sent him a text, "Thank you for a perfect day. Emma and Sophie are amazing. I can't wait to see you all again." Marcus closed his eyes, knowing he had reached a crossroads. He could continue the charade, but eventually, the truth would come out. Or he could trust in what they had built together and hope that love was stronger than deception. The next morning, he made his choice. Marcus called Rachel and asked if they could meet for coffee, just the two of them. She agreed immediately, hearing something serious in his voice. They met at the same small cafe where they had shared dessert on their first date. Rachel looked beautiful in a simple sundress, but Marcus could see concern in her eyes. "Rachel," he began, his hands trembling slightly around his coffee cup. "I need to tell you something important. Something I should have told you from the beginning." She reached across the table and covered his hand with hers. "Whatever it is, Marcus, we can work through it." And so he told her everything. About his company, his wealth, his fears about finding genuine love. About the deception he had crafted and the reasons behind it. Rachel listened without interruption, her expression shifting from surprise to understanding. When he finished, the silence stretched between them like a bridge waiting to be crossed. "Are you angry?" he asked finally. Rachel was quiet for a long moment, studying his face. "I'm not angry," she said slowly. "I'm sad." Marcus felt his heart sink. "I'm sad that you felt you had to hide who you are," she continued. "I'm sad that people have made you feel like your worth is measured only by your wealth." She leaned forward, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "Marcus, I fell in love with the man who shared apple pie with me. The father who lights up when he talks about his daughters. The person who was gentle and kind and real. Your bank account had nothing to do with it." The relief that flooded through Marcus was overwhelming. "Can you forgive me?" "There's nothing to forgive," Rachel said softly. "But I need you to understand something. I don't want your money. I don't need expensive gifts or lavish trips. I want Sunday morning pancakes with Emma and Sophie. I want to help with homework and attend school plays. I want to build a life together based on love, not luxury." Marcus felt tears in his own eyes. "That's all I want too." Rachel smiled, the radiant expression that had first captivated him. "Then we understand each other perfectly." 6 months later, Marcus stood in the same spot where he had first watched Rachel walk into the restaurant. But this time, he wasn't alone. Emma held one hand, Sophie the other, and all three of them were watching Rachel as she walked down the aisle of the small church. She had chosen a simple dress, elegant in its simplicity, and she carried a bouquet of wildflowers that Sophie had helped pick that morning. But it was her smile that took Marcus's breath away, the same genuine, loving smile that had won his heart from the very beginning. As she reached them at the altar, Rachel knelt down to hug both girls before taking Marcus's hands in hers. "Ready," she whispered. Marcus looked at his daughters, radiant in their matching dresses, then at the woman who had brought light and laughter back into their lives. "Ready," he whispered back. Later, at the reception held in the backyard of their family home, Marcus watched as Rachel danced with Emma and Sophie, all three of them laughing with pure joy. The celebration was simple but perfect, filled with love, family, and friends who mattered. As the evening wound down and the girls fell asleep in Rachel's arms on the porch swing, Marcus realized that he had found something far more valuable than any fortune. He had found a woman who loved him not for what he could provide, but for who he was. A woman who saw his daughters not as obligations, but as gifts. And in return, he had given her his whole heart, knowing it was safe in her gentle hands. The millionaire CEO had gotten everything he never knew he needed, not through wealth or power, but through the simple courage to be vulnerable and the incredible fortune of finding someone who loved him just as he was.